SugarMarket's Events module allows you to track and manage event engagement for in-person and webinar sessions. I'm going to walk you through creating a new event. We'll start by navigating to the open menu in the navigation bar and then select Events. I'm taken into the list view for events. Here, I'm able to see a list of all the events that have been created in my SugarMarket instance. To create a new event, I will click on the Create button. In this scenario, we have a customer training event that we are offering both in person as well as via webinar. I'll start by naming my event and selecting the folder I'd like to save it in. You can also add a description if you like. Then click Save. Now that my event is created, I can create my sessions. I'll click Create New Session, select whether I would like to set this session up as in-person or webinar. We'll do the in-person one first, keeping in mind that this scenario has a hybrid event. From here, I'll populate the name, city, state, and country for my in-person session. This one happens to be in San Francisco. Then I'll click Save. Once saved, I can see it is added to the Sessions section of my event page. Before creating my webinar session, let's walk through some of the information I can see here on the screen. Under General Information, I'm able to see the session ID Market has assigned. I can set the time zone for my session, as well as the start and end date and time. We can also set the max number of participants that can be registered for the event session. And once this number is hit, the session will be hidden on any associated pages you have set up with your registration form. Session status is important. I'll leave this as planned for now. If the session is set to a status of planned, inactive, or canceled, the session is hidden from any pages with connected forms. However, when the time is right, setting this to active will mean this session will display on any of those pages that you've set up with forms for the event. This will ensure people can register. This isn't a webinar session, so we'll skip the webinar dial-in details and head right to location and time. Here you can populate the address description as well as a map link for the session. These fields are used as merge tags to share specific location and time details in your event session trigger emails, so be sure you're populating them accurately. The calendar invite section is used to set up a calendar event for your session. There are links for Outlook and Google Calendar invites, as well as the ability to add invite text. This will be displayed in the calendar event description. And lastly, we have emails. This is where you can configure the trigger emails for your participants. You'll start by populating your session email setup fields. Here you can update the from name and address, as well as the reply to address as needed. Here we see the subject. This automatically populates with the name of the session. You can update this field, but keep in mind whatever you populate it with will be combined with other text for the email type you're sending. So if you look down below, you'll see a preview of each email subject below the email type. There are a few types of emails that can be sent for an event. The first is a registration confirmation. This will be sent to all registered participants immediately after they register. Next is a follow-up to participants that attended. This will be sent to all participants with the status of attended after the session end time. And then there's also a follow-up for those that didn't attend. This is sent to all participants with the status of registered for the date and time you determine during setup. And then you also have reminders for your registered participants. This is sent to participants with the status of registered for the date and time you determined during setup. For each email you'd like to trigger, you'll select the email template that you've created from this list. It's best to have your email templates created before your event. However, you do have the ability to create new templates using this link here. I also want to note that the Events module only uses templates built in Email Builder. So if you're using either of the legacy email builders, you'll need to transition those templates to the current email builder before they can be used in your event emails. If you've recently built a template and it's not listed in the email template fields, click the Refresh Email Templates button and they should appear. Once your template is selected and you've populated any additional fields, you can check the Enable Email Sending box and you'll see a pop-up on your screen. Confirm the information and click Send. Please keep in mind that once the registration confirmation email is enabled, the session email's setup fields can no longer be edited, and the registration confirmation email can no longer be disabled. So make sure everything is accurate before enabling this email. Alright, now that we have our in-person session set up, let's set up another session for the webinar portion of this event, just so you can see what the creation flow is for each type of session. To do this, I'll select Add Session, and you do have the ability to add as many sessions as you like. I believe it maxes out at 50 sessions per event, so hopefully you won't hit that max. This time I'll select Webinar, and then select GoToWebinar for the webinar software. Once I have that populated, I'll select the GoToWebinar account I'd like to use under Source. If you haven't yet integrated GoToWebinar into SugarMarket, you want to be sure to make that connection first before creating a webinar session on an event. That all looks good. I'll select the webinar that I'm associating to this session. And once I have my webinar fields populated, I'll click Save. You'll note that the new session is now reflected as a new tab in the Session section of the page. The general information for this session is populated based on the webinar I've selected, and I'm able to populate additional details in each of these sections, just as we did with our in-person session. I'll go ahead and set up some of the email templates for this session. And once you have all your email templates selected and set up, you can change your event status to active, and this will allow participants to register for your event.